Okay guys, today I'm going to teach you how to roast a Burundi, a washed Burundi that I've been working on this profile, and I think you're really going to see quite a bit of a difference from where I start and where I end. So let's check this out. Let's check out what I did last time. So as you can see in the background here, the dulled out version is where I had worked before, and in this you could see there was quite a drop right here, and this is what I was trying to avoid in the second one. Now I did have a little bit of a drop, but it wasn't as drastic as the last one, and I was also able, as you could see, to really stretch out the Maillard quite a bit and added like about 40 seconds in the Maillard. And again, I'm generally dropping things around 17% right now, and the reason I'm doing that is because I'm kind of exploring what the light roast is for these coffees. Whenever you're kind of playing with a new coffee, it's really important that you start to play, you kind of start in a place where you're aiming for light roast, and then you can add a little bit more time in the final, after first crack, between first crack and second crack, or first crack and, the end of first crack, to see how much of a change happens at 17%, 18%, 19%, right? What's the color difference? And you start paying attention to that, and you'll be like, okay, this coffee's way better at 18 than 17. And that's kind of, and that might be just you, or it might be, the people that are purchasing the coffee from you are saying, hey, I like it a lot better this way. So, just be willing to modify and change things as you go. All right, so I'm gonna show you, this is where I am right now. This background was the last time I did this Burundi. I'm doing 3.6 pounds of Burundi here, which is going to yield me around 3 pounds of roasted coffee. And all right, so I'm going to turn my KPAs up to 6.5. I'm going to make sure that my air is set for 50 to start. I'm checking all of my presets. And like I had mentioned, my drum speed is generally set at 75. And the reason I have it set for 75 is because the more the drum is spinning, I'm not getting any kind of charring. I've kind of messed around with this long enough now that I know that if I drop it to 65, generally I get tiny little nicks of charring because the drum isn't moving fast enough. I'm not getting enough convection heat. So I'm getting too much conduction, and that's creating charring, and I don't want that. All right, so I'm gonna cut the gas. We're gonna slowly drop from 450 roughly to my drop temp, or my charge temp is gonna be 356. I was probably aiming for 355, but I hit 356, so I generally know that. And as this drops, I hit the start button here on my Artisan, and I can basically, right now I can record the air just to have it, and I'm going to be queued up with my mouse right on the 6.5 kPa. I've said this in multiple videos now, you don't want to put your beans in the hopper too early. Most important is that you're not going to burn your beans, so you just kind of hang back, chill out. This is time to drink your coffee and just kind of, just wait, just be patient, right? You got enough anxiety in this world. This is, by the way, if you like classic cars, this is the Southern California MG Club, and actually I roast coffee and I bring coffee to a lot of their events. So it's a really cool club. We're gonna drop it in, like I said, at 165, giving us about 10 degrees of letting it sit there. This roaster is a 2 kilo roaster. At 3.65, I'm roasting at about 80% capacity. Why do I do that? Why do I roast at 80%? Why not 100%? Because you have much more flexibility and control when you don't slam it with as many beans as you can put in there. So if I have it at 80%, when I make a gas adjustment or an air adjustment, I can see it happening. If I have too many beans in there, it's sluggish. If I put 4 pounds or 4.5 pounds of beans in there, basically 5 pounds would be roughly 100%, then I start seeing it slow down quite a bit. All right, so we're gonna drop this in and charge it at 355. We're about there. 3, 2, 1, and off we go. I hit the timer here, and it charged on the screen, as you can see, and it dropped, it charged at 353. And like I said, I'm gonna hit my heat at exactly 1 minute, so we're soaking for a minute. We're giving these beans a little bit of time. I have in my roaster, when you buy a Yoshan roaster, if you guys are roasting on the similar one, originally my bean probe was 5 millimeter, and I messaged them. They're great because if you like want to swap out something, they'll send you the modifications. So they actually sent me a 2 millimeter and a 3 millimeter based on what I was interested in and how I kind of wanted to record my ROR. And I found that I have a 2, and that's why you'll see a lot of my ROR is really kind of volatile. All right, we're gonna kick it on. We're at a minute. Record it. You see, actually, if we look over here real fast, you see how it's like up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And that, when you're looking at some professionals' ROR, it might be much more smooth, like just very tiny little lines like this, right? And this happens to be some of the things that you'll do in your settings when you're kind of building out your artisan for your roaster specifically. But if you're figuring this out, I probably would be better at a 3 millimeter probe. It would be less volatile, meaning the thicker it is, the slower it is to read. Whereas the thinner it is, the faster it is to read. So you'll see, like, if there's a temperature change of one bean hits that probe and then another bean hits the probe, it'll just kind of go crazy. And that's why you're seeing this. So, and it's okay, because the way that I look at it is, it doesn't matter how crazy it looks. If you just draw the line, like physically with your finger, draw the line, even though it's up and down and up and down and up and down, it's pretty darn smooth. Right? So I never got around to, I have the 3 millimeter probe. I never got around to installing it. I'm happy with this. And it doesn't, I don't notice that it's giving me any issues with my roasting. So, but it does, I do get messages from people saying, this is crazy how like volatile your ROR is. But it's not that big of a deal. All right, so we're close to our first adjustment to 6 air. It's interesting. Sometimes it depends on the bean. I have to really mess around to see how I can make a bean, manipulate a bean in order to really control my ROR. So usually I don't come in with air this early, but for this Burundi, I found that it actually is quite helpful. All right, so I'm gonna bump it up to 60. We're gonna put a little more air in there. Air helps with convection, right? Convection is oftentimes one of the best ways to get the heat on your bean, way less than conduction, which is where the bean's hitting the sides of the drum. Convection is it's a much better way of heating up your beans. So I was a little slow on that compared to what my last one was, but it shouldn't make that much of a difference. Notice this. So in the previous video I made about the Columbia, you see how my yellow line drops? That's my air ROR, how it drops significantly. That's because I added air and I lowered my kPAs, my heat. So it dropped it significantly. Don't worry about that. That's gonna happen whenever you make a gas adjustment. You're always gonna see the air immediately respond. It's really good. Air will respond fast. The bean temp will respond slow. But like I said in previous videos, your air is always a good indicator of what's going to happen with your bean temp. So pay attention to it. See how my bean temp's climbing? I mean, my air temp is climbing, climbing, climbing. And you can see here, if you're zooming in on my finger or right around here, I drop it to 5 kPAs, and I'm watching this. I'm watching that climb, and that was my impetus to drop it to 5 kPAs. That's my 300. I highly recommend setting an alarm for your 300 because it just reminds you. So it's still climbing. So everything's very similar to the previous roast that I did, and that was today. Same ambient temperature outside, same wind speed and everything. All right, I'm going to drop to 5 kPa. Here we go. Bingo. Looking good. Okay, guys, I'm going to interrupt this roast really fast to talk about this roaster. This is a Yoshan roaster. I was lucky enough to get reached out to by Yoshan, by the manufacturers in China, after creating all these YouTube videos and these tutorial videos. I have a real passion, obviously, for roasting, and Yoshan offered me to offer to you guys a discount on any roaster that you guys are interested in purchasing from them. The only catch is that you have to actually reach out to me in order to get that discount. So my email is rob@ocdcoffeeclub.com, or you could just, leave a comment and I'll, you'll find that email in the comment section. But what's great about this roaster is that I was in the beginning looking to buy a Diedrich, looking to buy a Mill City roaster, all these other really high-end Probot roasters. I couldn't afford it. They started out at 2 kilo roasters, started out at like $12,000. And I was just doing this for fun. I don't have that kind of money to throw at my hobby. So I was actually able to find Yoshan at a fraction of the cost. I was able to get all of this, the roaster, the display table, delivery, the entire thing for less than $5,000. It was less than half of what it would cost to even get like a Mill City roaster delivered to my door. So if you guys are interested in getting one for yourself, reach out to me, let me know. I'm happy to make an introduction to the sales rep that I have a relationship with and get you guys roasting. The green beans are going to be going from green to dry end right here. Sometimes it's subjective. People's call on dry end. I generally call dry end not when it's like yellow, but when my green has lost a lot of its luster. And we're there. So, all right, let's dry end, record it. So I'm coming in slower, it looks like, interestingly. The progress here that's happening in my roast, while my ROR is staying basically the same. Oh, I guess I missed the cue because I was recording. You can see that this is going to be a little bit of a slower roast. And sometimes that happens, and I'm not exactly, just like looking at everything, all the numbers match up. It looks like it actually started right here, right around the turning point, was a little lower than before, and I'm not exactly sure why. I don't have all the answers, guys. It's just, that's a modification that happened. All right, so let's go to 3.8. That's a modification that I must have made somewhere. I don't know. This is one that's gonna this is gonna puzzle me for a little bit, and I'm gonna have to think about it. Why is it a little bit slower? I'm not sure. Maybe the wind speed outside picked up a little bit, and it's having an effect on my fan and putting a little bit of air backflow air in there. Could be that. But it's, at the end of the day, it's probably not going to make that big of a difference, as long as my ROR looks solid, and right now it does. So I'm not really concerned about it. I'm just kind of curious. And that's a lot of what roasting is just kind of like being curious of why your beans are responding in a specific way. So our next adjustment's at 3 kPa. We're going to bump down. I'm going to try to make I want to try to improve on this. So what I'm going to do is actually a 2.8 rather than a 3 right here. 2.8 right there, just below a 3. And this is actually something that Scott Rao taught me in some of the emails back and forth. When you see a drop off in your ROR, a tendency is for us to go, I need to go full throttle heat because I'm dropping, I'm losing heat. The best thing to do is actually back up and look at where you have a final endpoint where you want your ROR to land, right? We want that line to go from here to here, right? So, but if I go from here to here and then I have a drop and then I'm here, I got there, but unfortunately, I'm going to turn my air up. But unfortunately, I had that kind of that ROR dip that was not what I was hoping for. So the best thing to do is actually drop the temperature earlier, come in slower. So this way you're not high heat, and then you have this drop off once first crack hits. Generally, it's right around first crack that high heat will drop. Oh, speaking of first crack, yep, we're at first crack. If I have this drop and I'm at 4 kPa and I'm at 3 kPa on the when first crack hits, and then I have this big drop, what I'm going to do is rather than hitting it at 3 kPa at maybe 45 seconds before first crack, I'll drop it to 2.5. or I'll drop it to 2.2. And that should basically help me get around that drop off. So I land at the same place, but I don't have that huge dip. All right, this is looking pretty good. I think that was at, 2.5 there. I'm going down to 2.5 from my 2.8. And it looks like I fixed it. Like, you see that drop? You see how it was dropping right here, and now it's straight across? So that adjustment from the 3 to the 2.8 helped me alleviate some of that little drop off. And now I'm gonna bring it up to 80 on the air. Blow out any of that. Where's my air? Blow out any of that extra smoke that might be sitting in there. And then now my goal is to just ride this out. I'm just gonna keep an eye on my yellow here because I don't want the air to come up, so I get like this big uptick on the finish. And it looks like it's starting to, so I'm gonna drop to 2 here. And I think I did that last time, but I forgot to record it. So I go to the 2, and that'll help me with my yellow. My first crack is ending here. So I'm just gonna take a quick look. All right, yeah, that looks pretty good. So I think I'm there, and I'm gonna actually drop at 17. Boom. All right, let's go. Oh, and this is something that you get once in a while. Where did that come from? 5,000 beans, how did I burn one? This little sucker got stuck in the roaster, probably in the previous roast or the one before that, and was somehow wedged himself in there, and he got loosened up during this previous roast, and he popped out. So when you drop your beans, you always want to make sure you keep an eye. Look at what's coming out of your drum, because you could have one of these. Now, does this mess up my roast, like all of it? No. But if some poor schmuck got this in his roast and ground it, that would mess up his entire pot of coffee. It would taste. You cannot not taste that. So hopefully you only have one and you see it. If it gets through, then hopefully it's you that gets it and not your customer. But yeah, this is and this is what I do with this, is I just literally just throw it outside. All right, let's look. Let's see how we did. I'm really happy with this one. I think that I'm going to turn this off. Let's see what our we were at a 30% Maillard browning phase. 17.6 is basically where I've been trying to land here. It was about 50% in the green phase. It did take a little bit longer, but we actually, obviously, we stretched out the Maillard phase. So you see how last one, the Maillard phase ended at 8 minutes and 8 seconds, and this one ended at 8 minutes and 48 seconds. So we stretched it 40 more seconds. That's fine. I think we're going to be okay with that. Generally, if your first crack is happening somewhere between 8 and 9 minutes, that's normal. If it's taking way longer than that, then it might be the density of the bean, it might be other things, but generally that's 8 to 9 minutes for your first crack is fairly normal. And I'm super happy that I was able to get rid of that dip there. I think that's awesome, and I'm excited to see how this Burundi might taste different than the first batch. All right, guys, so that's it. That was the Burundi. Hopefully you guys learned something here. You're always welcome to reach out to me. Leave comments in the comment section. If you want to email me, it's rob@ocdcoffeeclub.com. And that's it, guys. Happy roasting.